Regarding the protest, we have a risk assessment method statements. I'm not even reading this crap. It is what it is. We're here to fight for our rights and our freedoms. Just want to thank you all for coming today. Once I'm done here, there's a couple of knowledgeable speakers who are going to get up. Before I go any further, I'm sure you're in the crowd here, I would like to address Mr. Moore from a certain Sunday paper. Anyway, Mr. Moore, this snowflake is not an anti-vaxxer. I'm as much anti-vaxxer as you are a decent reporter, basically. Over the past few days, I've had the PSN at my home in front of my kids issuing me paperwork that can be perceived as veiled threats. Trying to cut this to 1 hour with threats of prosecution. Where's the law stating the protest is limited to 1 hour? This is no longer public health, guys. You have took a political stance against the people today. Stand here in fear. I have a baby coming here on Wednesday. And so these guys are asking me here today, there's a chance I'm going to miss the birth of my son. That's how important this is. I just want to reach out to the police here. I want you to understand, we're ordinary people, mothers, fathers.
Come on, Sean!
We're not here to cause anybody any harm, we're standing here for our kids. These are only following orders, yeah? The people you are here to attack today and bully are the same people that are serving you your coffee tomorrow morning. Be it ordinary people, here standing for their rights and our freedom. Sorry guys, I'm shaking here. I'm going to let the professionals go in here, thanks.
Well done, Sean!
Well, good afternoon, Belfast. And first, let me say a massive thank you to Sean Snow for organising today. Let's give it up to Sean. Well, I say a massive God bless you to Sean and to your whole family for all you have endured and all you have given to the people of Belfast to give us, we the people, under all this pressure, a voice. Once again, thank you, Sean. Introduction. My name is Jonathan Weissman. I'm a full-time cybersecurity professional here in Belfast, part-time independent biosecurity researcher. I run a website, alltherisk.com. I've written a fully independent biosecurity risk assessment on these jabs. It has never been refuted, not once. I have support from some of the top academics in the world, bar none. The most highly cited professionals and some of the people with 30 plus years in the pharmaceutical industries. I know exactly what I'm talking about and I've never been refuted and I never will. To that end, today I would like to give 2 questions for us to think about. Question number 1, how did we get here? Question number 2, where are we? And before that, my final piece of introduction, my website, alltherisk.com, and finally, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Let's begin. So where are we today? We find ourselves under unusually strange and coercive pressures from our government to submit to a genetic experiment that enough people have said, no, that's not for me. Well, last time I checked, no means no. If this was any other scenario in life, we would never tolerate it. If this was a man asking a woman out, no. What would we say? No means no. Something's gone badly wrong at this point. So, we now have a situation where a peaceful people, law-abiding, who love their families, who love their God, who do everything by the book, are now being shut out of public spaces and restaurants because they've chosen not to submit to a genetic experiment, which, by the way, some of the world's top academics 100% agree with us on. I've done my homework. I can tell you 100% I am with you. So that's the first question, where we are. Second question, how did we get here? Let's do a little bit of history. Remember that virus, COVID-19, that came on the scene? It first appeared, apparently, January 2020. What happened? All the pharmaceutical manufacturers at once made the same decision, the same brainwave. We're going to take the spike protein, that surface protein that mutates the most quickly, and we're going to deploy experimental genetic technology to get all the people to produce the spike protein at once. AstraZeneca, Janssen, Pfizer, Moderna. How come everybody had the same brainwave at the same time? Very interesting. Number two, but if you go into the literature, molecular biology and the research, you find out you better hope the spike protein doesn't end up in your bloodstream. Why? Because the spike protein can bind to platelets in your blood, and it can bind to the endothelial cells, the inner lining of your blood vessels. So if it can get into the bloodstream, that will cause clotting events, thrombosis. We'll return to that in a moment. We better hope that doesn't happen. Number three, the clinical trials. So 6 months to give us clinical trials to deploy a product to the entire population. Well, that's very interesting. Remember the figure they told us? 95% reduction in cases, that will end the pandemic. Now take a look, highest case numbers ever. Does that make sense? Well, maybe you should go and study Marek's disease in chickens. If you deploy vaccines that don't stop infection and transmission, you're just going to have positive selection pressure. You'll select the more dominant, virulent strains. This is easy. This is epidemiology. Everyone knows this. So don't listen to Chris Whitty or the government when they play dumb. This is in the literature. Oh, and by the way, in case the government didn't tell you, go and read the British Medical Journal investigation last month on Brooke Jackson and the allegations of malpractice during the clinical trials of Pfizer, which included not closely monitoring for adverse events and targeting the staff of Ventavia who worked with Pfizer to report them. And isn't that what happens? When people report problems, they get into trouble. Secondly, have you heard of Maddie de Garay? 12-year-old girl who suffered a life-changing adverse event. She was a perfectly healthy child. Immediately following her second injection in January 2020, she ends up unable to walk properly, painful electrical shocks. She says, and I quote, "It felt like my heart was coming out through my neck." She's now in a wheelchair with a nasogastric tube on her face. According to Pfizer's website, the vaccine was well tolerated. According to the investigators, there were few serious adverse events and none were considered by the investigators to have been vaccine related. Folks, this is not genuine public health risk management. This is something else. Next, what happened in December 2020? The MHRA, the UK medical regulator, granted Regulation 174 temporary use authorization to these vaccines. However, going back to the distribution, they said we don't need studies on the biodistribution, how the thing distributes. They cited general immunologic processes. But an mRNA lipid nanoparticle vaccine is nothing like a traditional one. So we have to answer the question, does it distribute and does it get into the bloodstream? The MHRA said you don't need to know. Well, I can tell you, we've seen the studies. We have the data from the rats, from the PDMA of Japan released under Freedom of Information request. 16% of the Pfizer injection in the liver, 1% in the spleen, 0.1% in the ovaries, and it was increasing at the cutoff point after 48 hours. Last month, in the Journal of Immunology, a peer-reviewed paper found the spike protein in the bloodstream of human donors receiving Pfizer. It circulated for 4 months. So yes, it is in the bloodstream on something called exosomes, which yes, that can explain shedding adverse reactions 100%. I challenge anyone to debate me on that topic. And now, we know the spike protein vaccine binds to the inner lining of the blood vessels. We know that it binds to platelets causing thrombosis, and we know from transmission electron microscopy it's in the bloodstream 100%. Anyone feel free to debate me on that. So let's go look at the real world data yellow card scheme. What do you see? Pulmonary embolism, blood clot in the vessels in the lungs. You see heart attack, blood clot in the vessels of the heart, and stroke, blood clot in the vessels leading to the brain, causing reduction in blood and oxygen. Exactly what you'd expect to see. How much more do we need to see before we pull this thing? Instead, what do we see? Aggressive, coercive measures by the government to push it down to all the people and all the age ranges. And this, finally, the vaccine passport is the final step on that journey, to push it down to as many people who said they don't want it, even though no means no. Summing up, I have two things I want to touch on briefly. We now face, and it's very important we don't lose sight of this, two dual crises from our government. Number one, this today, the vaccine passport. We will never consent, we will never accept it, we will never respect it. And by the way, for any Christians wondering theologically, can you do that? Go and read the book of Daniel. Yes, you can. You do not consent to wicked government. Right, the second issue, very briefly before I pass over. My biggest passion right now is working with those issuing a notice of liability, working with the legal teams. We need to stop this thing. Let me tell you something in the schools. Yesterday, Pfizer did a press release on their website. Believe it or not, this is what they're talking about. They have a trial, believe it or not, for 6 months to 5 years. 6 months to 5 years. They are now going to give these children a third dose in their clinical trials to get a bigger immune response. That means more spike proteins, more PEG lipid to elicit an anaphylaxis reaction, and more cationic lipid with unresolved toxicity concerns. This is a total disgrace. A total disgrace. I would ask you, thank you, if you are against it and you're a professional and you're willing to make the public stand with me, contact me from my website, alltherisk.com, and we the people will make a statement. It is too small a thing to protect those we love. This cannot go down the age ranges any further. It's gone too far, it can't go any further. Thank you very much.
Sorry, but there we go. Just want to take a minute here. As you're aware, it says we're getting a wee bit of hassle from the police, but we have got a legal team that's looking into this, and it's against our human rights what they're pushing here. So I'm not going to name the solicitor, but he did try to get this into the courts this morning, but didn't have enough time. Now, the plan is we will be back here New Year's Eve. We're going to finish the year on a high, and we're going to double, treble, quadruple, whatever the numbers. And guys, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just going through the courts. We will be back.
All these fucking party men, you can't even stand up for like this. This is a war, and they've not what do you think? And I know, and I haven't heard it today, rather.
same. Yeah, absolutely. You have a choice, right? Or like if from weekly, or you want to take it as something to I don't want to live in the world today after the Panthers. Anyway, they come to my house and, you know, no, I tell you what, I'm not fucking so come in your house. No big thing.
Hello, Northern Ireland. Good afternoon. I believe that there are three fundamental factors, pillars of human expression that we should consider embracing in order to secure our freedoms. That's what we're here about today. They are courage, passion, and heart.
At least then.
I'm here today to voice my opposition to the vaccine passport debacle and fraud being thrust upon us, as they are divisive, controlling actions that I believe may verge on fraudulent activity in an attempt to strip us of our civil liberties. We all know the lies and how they've manipulated us over the last 2 years, and how they're ramping up the fear factor right now just in time for Christmas with the Omicron scare. They would like to think us that we'll all going to be walking over dead bodies in the street soon. And the fact is that if you're under 70 with no comorbidities, chances of dying are statistically insignificant. If you're over 70, you still maintain a 94.6% survival rate. More importantly, I wish to speak to you all about the erosion of our civil liberties and freedoms that are basic inalienable rights, our sovereignty, if you will. My name's Scott White. I'm a chiropractor in Ballymoney and a business owner. I've resided in Northern Ireland now for 21 years, and I'm originally from the United States, Detroit, Michigan originally. The first of these three pillars to embrace our voices to be heard is courage. Courage to stand tall in the face that has and will come at us in the next few days, months, or years. Courage to say that this is it. This is where I stick the sword in the ground, thinking this is the hill that I'm going to die on. I believe it is, and it's time for us to engage courageously and bravely with those that have attempted this coup d'etat on our personal freedoms. Courage to stand tall and strong, knowing full well that you are a sovereign being, intelligent to ask questions when things don't seem quite right, question authority, and be confident that there is a fantastic body of information out there supporting your decisions as to what happens not only to your body, but to your family, community, country, and humanity. In the movie Braveheart, William Wallace, as portrayed in the final scene, never wavered, never flinched, never yielded for his freedom and the freedom of his country. That sticks in my mind as the epitome of courage. In my country, George Washington had courage. The signers of the Declaration of Independence had courage. Patrick Henry, who saw things a little in a different light, uttered those famous words, "Give me liberty or give me death," had courage. Major Tom had courage. Those that fought in the world wars to give us these freedoms had courage. Have we the same commitment? Are we writing the MLAs, the MPs, the MEPs, and other political leaders continually voicing our concerns? Be courageous and get online and write. It's how we get things done these days. Instead of sharpening swords and arrows, sharpen your pens. Inundate their email inboxes and social media pages with your point of view continually. It is why they got elected, isn't it? They're there to support your choices. I want you to look around for a moment right now, and I want you to take a look at this yellow stand that this young man has a flag here. Could you raise it for me, please? It has a great quote on it. The slogan, "Don't tread on me." Many of you may not know the history of this flag, but it was designed by Charles Gadsden in the United States, basically before we were the United States. It was 13 colonies at that particular time. And it was originated in 1775. It flew over the ships that protected goods coming to those colonies, warning the British and the Crown in defiance about the overreaching governmental controls that were going on at the time and the stripping of the civil liberties for those residing in those 13 colonies that soon to become the United States, the newfound republic. The flag should mean a great deal to all of us in these troubled times, representing our unwillingness to conform and the courage to oppose the populist narrative at all costs. Allow me to digress for a moment or two. We've been subjected over the last 2 years to a campaign that has instilled fear, psychosis, and hypnosis. It has been orchestrated and carried out by governments around the world that will go to no end, as it seems, to continue their misinformation narrative to get what they came for. That being our freedoms to establish a new world order, a totalitarian state, if you will. And there is nothing new about this. It's been out in the open for years. The dress rehearsals of Ebola, MERS, SARS, swine flu. Our governments have known for quite some time how to control the masses through blatant lies, to establish fear, and through confusion. Saying one thing one day and turning around saying the opposite the next. Take the jab, for instance. One day it's safe, effective, and protective. The next day it just may reduce the symptoms if you happen to get the 19. And get this, y'all need boosters. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear 2 masks. This has all been planned. And the question being is, why have we continued to listen to the likes of Tony Fauci, our BBC medical experts, health ministers, especially when we know what they say is so far from the truth that it's absolutely ridiculous. And sure, it's obvious for all of us here that are awake, but for many that walk amongst us with their eyes wide shut, sadly, it's not so apparent. So we've got to keep spreading the word. Get folks here. Very, very smart people have been behind these lies and deceptions. Interestingly enough, the CIA and other intelligence organizations around the world have had their hand in these activities for a very long period of time, carrying out experiments in mind control and controlling masses. One experiment of mind control is called the Milgram experiment. Google it. The conclusion following this experiment was that 33% of people will abandon and disable their own personal philosophy, even though what's being suggested by a medical professional violates their conscience, their ethics, or their morals. I won't go into history too much here. It's just an example, but most of us are aware of what one man and one country singing off the same hymn sheet did to an entire population of people. Holocaust historians estimate 6 million Jewish people were murdered during the ethnic cleanse while their friends and neighbors observed. Is it possible to control the masses through propagandized information that lead to horrific outcomes? Are we really reliving history? Have we had enough of it?
Yes!
Can we say no to this? We've encountered a pandemic sucker punch here, and there are many in their playbook. Insight into some of this activity is found in a book called A Brave New World. Aldous Huxley nailed it, and it could even be the playbook that they're using right now against us. How about George Orwell's book, 1984? Interesting reads. Now, compassion is the next element needed in deconstructing the current narrative. Compassion for our fellow man we need to be understanding of one's position regarding all of this. Most folks are just plain afraid. We have to be that compassionate light that helps guide these folks out of the darkness. We have all suffered greatly, and the cost on society has yet to have been calculated. More and more awakening to the day when they see through the veil of fear and see the Emperor for what he really is. Naked beyond belief, without anything to hide. We need to have compassion for those who have been coerced into doing something they inherently knew was wrong, but out of necessity had to get jabbed, forego their civil liberties in order just to put food on the table. We never saw it coming. They kept us busy fighting each other versus us dealing with the more pressing problems at hand. Families being split and torn apart, shaming, bullying, cancel culture, accusations of conspiracy theorists, and other divisive language to shut out and dismiss the truth have all been used to gain another foothold in the ambition to establish that totalitarian society to literally control every aspect of your human expression. In turn, this attempt to lay claim to our freedom, our children's freedom, and their children's freedom needs to be stopped in its tracks now. And compassion, I believe, will help bring this to an end sooner than later. The construction of this biosecurity state undermines all of the tenets of Western jurisprudence that up to now have been taken for granted. This by far is the most profound peril facing human liberty perpetrated on us in such a devious and deceitful manner. Our final element for the deconstruction of the narrative is heart. We have to find it in our hearts to rise above. This, in fact, will be the most difficult of all three to achieve. How do we find a way to forgive those that have perpetrated these lies upon the masses in order to gain control over your life? Each of us needs to find a way. And did I say forgive? I didn't say forget. We have certain individuals held responsible for their crimes against humanity.
Yes!
Have the heart to help those that are going to need the support and help once they do awaken to the truth. Let's move forward with a newfound understanding of your neighbor, letting your heart lead the way. Truth, trust in those instincts of the heart. Rarely are they wrong. We are in an all or nothing situation, folks. Either give up everything or hold on to your freedoms with all your might. It's going to take a big heart to do that. A heart that has the ability to replace all of the fear, the anger, the desperation and sadness with joy, love, kindness, and trust. Yes, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. The solution to this scamdemic lies within us and no one else. I am of the mind that we must grow a bigger heart, have more compassion for others, and exhibit great courage in order to overcome those that wish to oppress and incrementally snatch our freedom from us. One last note before I wrap this up today. I want each and every one of you to acknowledge quietly to yourselves that your health and well-being are ultimately your responsibility. No one else can keep you healthy. If you think the sick care system of the NHS has your back, think again. You have to look after yourself. No one will. Eat healthy, exercise daily, think positively, and get adjusted by your chiropractor. I just want to thank you all here today for your focused presence. I want you to keep spreading the message and get 3 times as many, 4 times as many, 5 times as many people here for the next.
Hello, Belfast! How are you? I came all the way way from Limerick to be here today. Thank you. Why is that? Because you are showing the light. You need to show the light to show us the way down the south, because we're fast asleep.
Don't you know we're talking about a revolution that sounds like a whisper? Don't you know we're talking about a revolution that sounds like a whisper? While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for our promotion. Don't you know we're talking about a revolution that sounds like a whisper? More people are gonna rise up and take their share. Who's gonna rake their share? More people are gonna rise up, get what's theirs. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. Finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Oh, now. Talking about a revolution. Oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for our promotion. Don't you know we're talking about a revolution? Sounds poor people are gonna rise up and take their share. Who's gonna rise up? Take what's theirs! Woo! You better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Oh, now. Talking about a revolution. Oh, now. Talking about a revolution. Oh,
This is a song you all know, and I want you to roar on the chorus. It's just, hey, what is going on?
Trying to think of
25 years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill I'll hold for a destination. I realized quickly when I knew I should that the world was made up of this brotherhood of man, or whatever that means. And so I cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out. What's in my head, and I ain't feeling a little peculiar. And so And I said, hey, 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 hey. Say, what's going on? And I said, hey, 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 hey. Say, what's going on? Woo! Make me feel our home for destination.
Hey guys, we've got Darren here. He's some very important information to get out to you. If you can give him a wee minute, thank you.
Looks like there's about 200 or 300 people here again. Right, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I'm from an organisation called Protest.Belfast. I set this up a while ago. Is that better now? I was right network up a while ago, just trying to bring the voices together. And since then it's grown. Okay. Closer to the light! Legal side. Before I go into that, I want to thank Sean. I want to thank Sean for all the work that he's done, all he's put up with to get this up. Before I talk a little bit about ARN, it's clear that this is a power grab. Okay? There is a bill, I believe, going through in England at the minute, which is the police bill. And that will eventually try and take away your right to protest. Are we going to accept that? No! So we all have to fight back, and we all have to come together, okay, to be able to fight what's coming down the tracks. So just a little bit about ARN. So we have put out what's called the legal toolkit for the hospitality sector. It has been written by a lawyer, not by myself. Okay? It's hard for me to digest some of it, so bear with me. So, we have a way to fight back against the system, a way to fight back using against the passports, all legally, should I add. What I'm going to do, okay, first of all, we will be putting out a simplified version tomorrow by 1 o'clock on our Facebook page. So if you're not on our Facebook page, it's Advocacy Rights Network, okay? Or you can go to our website, which is advocacyrightsnetwork.co.uk. Okay? It'll be there, and businesses can download this onto their phones, and we can start to empower the people and take the power back. So bear with me, I'll read through this, okay? I'll try and avoid the big words. Okay, so domestic COVID vaccination certification, what do they mean for you? ARN seeks to empower people to advocate on behalf of themselves, their businesses and their customers. We believe it's everybody's right to know the correct interpretation, meaning of regulations and guidance, but more essentially, how they exist and operate in the real world and in this business, in your business. We believe that if businesses and customers alike properly know their rights and obligations, they both can apply the law fairly, without discrimination, to equally ensure customers and staff safety, enjoyment and being free of liability. We understand that many people without a legal background really struggle at times to know what they should or should not, can and cannot do as to keep their businesses operating within the bounds of the law, whilst providing an enjoyable experience for their customers and keeping everyone safe. We know that when comparisons are drawn between what regulations actually state and information provided on the NI Direct website, domestic vaccination certificates managed by the Executive Information Service, working within the Department of Finance, there are seemingly contradictions and inaccuracies in what appears to be lawful commands on the surface, through guidance with what the law properly and actually requires people to do. An example is the implication relating to the evidence of a person's COVID status. For example, you will be asked for your certificate. We know the regulations do not empower a responsible person to so demand, nor oblige a customer to so comply. We believe this language, by potentially misrepresenting the intention and operation of the regulations, may lead to people being unwittingly coerced and disclosing personal private medical health data and other unlawful processing that data. We believe that when the state intervenes, especially in matters such as disclosing private medical data and health status, requiring medical procedures and basic human rights relating to being able to run a business and enjoying life, unhindered by interpreting laws for the public through guidance or other compliance measures, the state bears a duty to be accurate in a manner that empowers people to know their rights and obligations, particularly when they are subject on pain of punishment for getting it wrong. We remain concerned that these current state interventions are creating vulnerability for our society, especially when these regulations seek the vulnerable voluntary cooperation of people, as stated in the explanatory memorandum part 4 of the regulations. We have in the following toolkit tried to correct this by setting out what the regulations state and how the law can and should operate for everyone's benefit, to protect and keep safe everybody, but still enjoy our social life together as a community. We hope this toolkit will provide a framework for you to achieve that, but it will be for you to decide if and how you apply this toolkit. So what we're asking businesses to do, you have two choices. You allow yourself to go under, or you allow yourself to be taken for discrimination, or you fight back within the law. Okay? Guys, please look out this contest tomorrow. We will win.
Hello everyone. Isn't it great to be alive? My first experience of this COVID or coronavirus nonsense started in 2020. I was over in Australia giving a few talks, one in February and one in March. And as I arrived in the plane, what happened was that somebody was sick on the plane, so they wouldn't let us off when we arrived in Australia. They then kept us on for maybe half an hour. They did some sort of medical examination of the guy and eventually let us off. And then 2 years later, we're here in the middle of this Orwellian nightmare where people are absolutely out of their heads in fear. And one of the things that I've really learned about this system, and it is a very broken, very fundamentally flawed system, is when you lose the fear of this system, 80% of it will just collapse around you right away. And this is the thing, each and every one of you here today, you are your own highest authority. Nobody tells us what we put into our bodies. It's our bodies, our consciousness. If we don't take a stand and we don't turn this insanity around, when will it stop? The fourth booster, the fifth booster, the sixth booster, the microchip, the cashless society, and eventually it's just, oh, you're not allowed, just like China, you're not allowed to travel, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do anything. We must take a stand, we must waken up as many people as possible before it's too late. And they say, trust the science. Scientists are the most corrupt people on the planet. A scientist will do anything for money. Asbestos was proven to be safe by science. Smoking was promoted by doctors as safe. Thalidomide was given to pregnant women and told it would help them with their morning sickness. The science is absolutely corrupt, and you can buy any result you want if you've got enough money. I've worked many years as a hypnotist, and I'm also an NLP trainer, a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming. So one of the things that I do is I get people that are in unresourceful states and I manipulate their reality to get them into a better place. And when I see the stuff that's going on in society, the mind control, the manipulation, the hypnotic language, the fear, the constant flashing of negative images on social media, on the mainstream media, we are being absolutely mind controlled and manipulated by a very sophisticated system. We We must question absolutely everything. There's so much data coming at us from so many sources that most people can't make head or tail of it. But there's certain things that are absolutely undeniable. In 2009, Pfizer were fined $2.3 billion. $2.3 billion for lying about all the different things that they say their drugs would do. Now this was their third or fourth or fifth time in court. In 2010, GSK was fined $3 billion. And they're saying they want to trust these companies that are absolute criminals, that have very long criminal records, and they keep doing it over and over and over again. And this is the thing about science. You can go out and do 10 studies, and if 3 of those studies show that loads of people died, people got sick and they had incredibly adverse side effects, you can vary those studies and just select the ones that suit your outcome. And we are being lied to systematically time after time after time after time. What human being would want to fund a gain of function research that you want to take a virus and make it much more aggressive, much more virulent? And yet Tony Fauci was caught lying to Congress that he funded gain of function research. And they want us to trust those people. You're looking at the politicians in Downing Street. Oh, you just can't do this, you just can't have a party, you just can't do it. They're caught absolutely red-handed, having their Christmas parties, drinking, doing whatever they want. It's one rule for them and one rule for us. If it was so dangerous and so deadly, then we wouldn't need to go through this nonsense that they're trying to do. It's an absolute circus, and it amazes me that people are doing what they're doing. Face masks. Some people it may give people the illusion of safety, but a football net would be more effective at stopping mosquitoes than a face mask. The size of a viral particle is so small compared to a face mask. They did research and they took the mask of a child that had been wearing, the child was wearing the mask all day long. And they examined it and they found 8 types of harmful bacteria in that mask. When you breathe out, that's you breathing out your toxins, the viral debris and all the negative stuff that your body wants rid of. Yet they want us to restrict the fresh air coming in and restrict the toxins being limited. It's insanity, absolute insanity. Never, not once have I worn a face mask, and never will I wear a face mask under any circumstances. Crap that they want you to put in your hands called hand sanitizer. That contains triplosan, a cancer-causing agent. It's got benzyl alcohol and all other sorts of toxic crap. Can you imagine the millions of gallons of that shit that's being poured down the drains into our ecosystem? It's absolutely destroying the planet, and we need bacteria. We need that stuff in our environment. That stuff is destroying everybody's immune system. Absolutely destroying it. A few years ago I wrote a book, and it took me 10 years to write that book. And you'd think, well, why would it take you 10 years to write a book? Because I actually started researching in detail. I've spent tens of thousands of hours researching. And one of the things that I really found out is the FDA, the CDC, the MHRA, and all these organizations, the World Health Organization, they're all absolute criminal organizations that look after the pharmaceutical companies and give us the illusion that they're looking after us. They are corrupt, they're completely captured, they're completely rotten to the core, and they just buy anybody in that system. There is just so much power, so much money, that they can just buy anybody and get the result that they want. They get to the stage in this country, if you give a politician a brown envelope to get something done, that would be called bribery. In America, it's called lobbying, and it's encouraged, and that's how everything gets done over there. You can lobby your way into anything or any outcome you want. We're being systematically lied to, mind controlled, and they say, trust the science. We're not allowed to talk about the science. Science is the constant discussion and different perspectives. They say, trust the science, yet they won't get on TV and debate publicly and openly what people say. these vaccines are complete. They're not even vaccines, they're experimental injections. They are completely experimental, and they can inject or want to inject us with this crap, and if anything goes wrong, nobody's liable. The government's not liable, Pfizer's not liable, nobody, the person sticking it in your arm's not liable, but they still want you to take that in your arm. Absolutely never will we ever submit to this crap. The things that we really do need to do if we do want to protect ourselves are, and this is the thing, the solution to every illness is to have a really high quality, really powerful, functioning immune system. Get off the processed foods, throw the microwave oven off, out, drink filtered water, don't drink that crap out of the tap, and also get out in the sun. I used to think the sun was bad for you, and I stayed out of the sun for 20 years. And then I realised that I made a huge, grave mistake, and now I would chase the sun completely across the garden. Get out in the sun. Do not put their commercial sunscreens on, because they will destroy your health, and they will give you cancer. And this is the thing about the people putting hand sanitizers on. Anything, if you can't eat it, you cannot put it on your skin, because we absorb things through our skin transdermally and into our bloodstream. If you go into a swimming pool for 20 minutes and you get out, when you come out, and if they took a sample of your blood, they would find detectable levels of chlorine in your blood. And that's hand sanitizer. If you drink it, would either make you sick or probably kill you. Yet they're squirting it on your hands and all over your bodies. And you go into these supermarkets, there's people drowning themselves in it. This stuff is so toxic, so harmful to the environment. And then when you take into account they say we're going to close everything down to protect it from the virus. What about the people that have died, the people who have committed suicide, the mass culling of our communities in nursing homes, the cancer patients, all the people? Nobody dies from anything but COVID anymore. 2 weeks ago, my father was in the hospital, 83, really fit man. He was up on that roof. I would have no concerns whatsoever. And they murdered him in that hospital with midazolam. They murdered him with morphine, and they wouldn't let anybody in the same. And then when he died, they stuck COVID on his death certificate. What a load of absolute nonsense. They're just calling everybody. Anybody gets a certain age, you go into a hospital, they've just got a kill protocol. And most people don't believe that this is happening. When you see the evidence, when you've spent tens of thousands of hours and you sift through all the things, you realise they're absolutely wiping out the elderly and many other people that go in there. And one of the things, the government is completely in debt. They are completely bankrupt. And under a freedom of information request, somebody sent in how much money is in the pension fund. And it come back absolutely none, because they spent it on paying off the national debt. So all the pensioners, and this is the thing, the pensioners in the UK have one of the lowest pension rates in the world, or not in the world, in the Western world. But this is the thing, all those people are a huge burden to the government. So why would they want to get rid of the liability of all these elderly people? This system is so fundamentally flawed, so fundamentally broken, so completely and utterly delusional. And it's put the same nonsense on. And when we say, well, let's discuss the science don't make the science available so we can actually look at it and take it apart. We get these experts using computer modelling that is so completely wrong, and they put us into these lockdowns. What happened? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. 2 years later, and we're standing here, and you're going, is this really happening? Like, you're walking down the street thinking, have I woke up in a horror movie? We need to stand together. We need to educate the people that are willing to listen. And there's probably 30% of those people that want their masks, and they will be happy with that illusion of certainty. They'll trade all their freedoms for the illusion of some security, and they'll have nothing. They'll have neither. The system is collapsing. The health service is collapsing. And the thing is that people can't see that are so close to that, can't see what's really going on. But then you see different levels of consciousness, and this is a battle about consciousness. Anything that starts to let people awaken is being closed down. Look at the censorship on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all these other social media platforms. If our voice didn't matter, they wouldn't try to shut us down. Why are they trying to block this? hear such a threat, why won't they just let us all get COVID and die? If their vaccines work, why do they need to forcibly try to get people to get the second, third? When's the fourth shot? When's it stop at the 10th shot? I don't know. But the thing is, we all need to stand together, and the one thing we're all here together for is freedom!
Yeah, there's 3 o'clock, guys. It's we're being rounded up here to cattle. If you look around you. I feel like a naughty school kid stopping here with my wall behind me. Look, guys, that's me officially over. I ain't going to be cutting it off here. It's up to yourselves what you want to do. You're all adults. Do as you please. I'm done, but I will be back. We will be back here in 2 weeks. Well, sorry, New Year's Eve. Yeah! We have a legal team that is going through the courts for this at the minute, so we'll be here for as long as we want the next time. Next time, what I want to do is ask each and every one of you to bring somebody with you. We want to take that street, that street, that street. Yes. We'll come back, like I said the last time, we'll come back and we'll come back and we'll come back and we don't stop coming until this goes away. Last week, the just one thing is all for coming and taking the time out and being here. Legends, yeah, look, I'm done. That's my part done. I'm officially done because I'm going to go here. I'm not going to risk getting arrested with a baby coming in a few days. I wouldn't give him the pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be surrounded with brave people today. To meet and make friends with men and